All right, Assalamualaikum. Can you listen to me?
Yes.
All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Malik Arman, Deputy Director for E-Learning Unit at the Center for Professional Development. I will be the moderator for today's session. To gain the barakah for today's event, let's start with the recitation of Kitab, Al-Fatihah. All right, so it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to our special webinar today. The webinar is about AI and the future of thinking, challenges and impact in the coming decade, which will be delivered by Professor Dr. Mohamed Hadi Habaebi from Kuliah of Engineering. A little bit about his background. He's a professor. Professor Dr. Mohamed Hadi Habaebi is a graduate in 1991 of a Civil Aviation and Meteorology High Institute, Tripoli, Libya. Started his career as a radio engineer, passing gradually through several positions of senior RF and microwave engineer, technical manager, and finally CTO in several government and private companies, working for the telecom sector in Tripoli, Libya, and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia throughout 1991 until 2003. His academic and professional milestones: he obtained the Master of Science, RF Communications Engineering from UTM in 1994 and PhD in Computer Communications Engineering from UPM in 2000. He was a visiting lecturer at UPM from 2000 to 2003, where he joined the Department of Computer Engineering, University of Tripoli, Libya, the same year, and was an associate professor until 2011, heading the Students' Affairs and Examination Unit for 3 consecutive years. He joined the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, IIM Gombak, in 2011. He was the postgraduate academic advisor of the department since then until December 2017. He has been the head of department since January 2018 until 30 June 2021. Throughout his academic career, he has consulted for the industry and often appointed as a technical consultant in several countries and holds several research grants. Before I ask Prof. Hadi to give his talk, I would like to invite Prof. Mira, our director for CPD, to give a welcoming remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Malik, and thank you to all participants, especially the speakers for today, Prof. Hadi. Thank you so much for making the time and willing to share your knowledge with us in CPD. The topic is, I hope it will not be sounds like advocating only AI, but glad that Dr. Malik and Prof. Hadi bring in the process of thinking. Okay, so we are not so much of advocating the technology, but we are advocating how the AI can actually assist us, can actually be the tools to promote a better way to learn and teach in the future. That's why Prof. Hadi highlighted about the thinking process here. So I'm truly grateful that it's aligned with our visions, IUM visions and mission, and I'm very sure with what Prof. Hadi will share today, it will bring a new nuance on how we going to see these tools in the future. And again, I would like to thank all the participants, mashallah, in this Friday, in this Jumu'ah Mubarakah, inshallah, in this blessed Friday. Our learning effort will be counted as one of the good deeds that we'll look forward to see it in the day of judgment, inshallah, that bring us to the good place, Jannah, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. So thank you so much. Prof. Hadi, and all participants, Dr. Malik, Sister Uzma from CPD, who prepared these sessions since so many weeks ago. So, Jazakumullah khair, Barakallahu fikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof. Mira. So without further ado, I would like to invite our honorable speaker, Prof. Hadi Habaebi, to deliver his webinar.
Waalaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Welcome to the big lecture. It was a short notice, but inshallah, I try to do my best from what I learned at IOM and other places, inshallah. So, can I share the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, our lecture basically today will engage how do we see how does the artificial intelligence will impact the way we think, at least in the next 10 years, because the next 10 years are probably, at least looking at my age, I'll probably retire in 10 years time or slightly more. So it was very interesting to me to concentrate on the next year, because this is like this year considered a turning point in artificial intelligence, or at least since 2021 to 2024. So we are seeing a new revolution happening, just like we are witnessing it firsthand, just like we missed the industrial revolution that happens early last century. So hopefully, inshallah, going through these slides and within these 2 hours, we can cover most, not all, but at least most of the issues related to the future of thinking, the impacts and the challenges in the next 10 years. So if we define AI, basically AI refers to the development of machine that is capable of performing tasks that is typically require human intelligence. Things that we do, we take for granted. Now we delegate it to machines. That requires the logical thinking, reasoning, the learning, the problem-solving skills, the perception, and the language skills. If we look at the brief history and how AI started, we didn't start just 2021. We started a very long time ago. There has been, what you see today is basically has been on the shoulders of so many researchers like you throughout the last century. It started early on since 1950 until what you see today in 2024 and what we expect to see until 2034. So there have been a lot of breakthroughs. Early famous ones is the coining of AI in 1956, followed by, for example, the development of expert systems in the 1970s, followed by the going into the proliferation of machine learning in the 90s, followed by the proliferation of neural networks and deep learning in the 2000s, and then the era of ChatGPT from 2010 to 2020, and then the early series of ChatGPT that has appeared, that has basically allowed us to generate text, and now as 2024 generate text, videos, multimedia, voice, and so on and so forth. So it has been a long journey, but it has a lot of technical background behind. There's a lot of work that has been done, and there are mountains of information that has been generated and knowledge that has been transferred one generation to another until we get to where we are today. Just to grasp the amount of knowledge that has been transferred, just look at the AI layers and how it started. What does AI encompasses? AI basically, in the common sense, is the broadest level that encompasses machines that, as we say, can perform tasks that require human intelligence. So they can do speech recognition, they can do emergent behavior, augmented programming, algorithm building, and they can even dictate ethics. A subset of artificial intelligence is well known as machine learning. It's very famous nowadays. A lot of people are probably using it. A lot of the audience probably using it. And this is the early versions of the form of artificial intelligence that has started. It's basically you give the machine a set of data, and the machine learns from this data, and then you tell it that you inform the machine there are certain features you should look at in my data. So the machine, based on the features you input and the data, you train it, and then it tries to learn itself and come up with a what may I call it, output without any explicit programming to do this specific output on its own. And that is our first-hand experience with learning, machine learning. Then came the explosive neural networks, or that has really, it was, neural networks was invented early. So it was during the early age of machine learning, even prior to SVM. It came out and gave us, it has attempted to mimic the structure of the neural cells that works in our brains. So by creating layers, at least there's an input layer, an output layer, an intermediate layer. So these neural networks had several types. They learned by looking at the data, feeding back, looking at the data, learning and feeding back, improving the performance at every time, and do this for hundreds of times, thousands of times, millions of times, billions of times, and hundreds of billions of times, like what ChatGPT is doing today, and probably trillions of times. Then came the deep learning. Deep learning, as more data became available, and now we can come up with more sophisticated machine learning algorithms. We call them deep learning, where you have an input layer and you have an output layer, and in between you have several layers with so many neurons connected. All of them work in tandem and make decisions based on the feedback they receive from the previous layers, and repeat the process until they come up with a proper solution. So it's basically a specialized set of neural networks that involves models with many layers and allow us to handle, because they are very complex and they're very deep. Now we can do more complex tasks and we make better decisions. And then came, since 2000, the generative AI. Generative AI early on started in 2000. 2021 was the first, our first-hand experience with generative AI. And this AI has allowed us to generate text, first to chat, generate text, and now even generate images and videos based on patterns they have learned from the data that we feed it. So the more sophisticated the AI becomes, the deeper it becomes, the larger it becomes, the more complex it becomes, and the weirder the behavior it produces. So this is what we are trying to contemplate, the long journey of the developments of AI. So looking at the exponential growth of AI, in 2020, narrow AI, or AI that do specific task, one specific task, for example, for example, biomedical applications, working as a sensor to open, tap, or close, or valve, or close, controlling, lightning in corridors, working with medical images, doing repetitive tasks. So these narrow AI applications usually they excel with tasks that requires image recognition and language processing. So they started popping up since 2020, and a lot of applications now in the market, so many of them in the market. What we see right now, or the applications you deal with, mostly are narrow AI. They are not general AI. Then came in 2025, we expect to see AI to become more human-like by demonstrating logical thinking, reasoning across various domains. And hopefully by the end of this decade, we should see ubiquity, where AI becomes deeply integrated in all aspects of daily life that we work with. So looking at this, if I may show the levels of AI, how does the community look at AI levels? What we live with today, like ChatGPT 3.5, which was started 2022, ChatGPT 4.40, which is in 2024, that in April allowed us to generate text, generate voice, generate videos in 2024 from OpenAI, or maybe Claude 3.5 Sonnet from Anthropic, 2024, Llama 2 from Meta, Falcon LLM also from UAE. These basically represent conversational or chattable AIs, conversational AIs. They can converse in human language and understandable human language. And also BART from Google. So these are what we have seen or dealing with on a daily basis right now. And this has brought the hoo-ha moment and the eureka moment for a lot of people, and brought attention to a lot of people on the advancements of computer engineering, on machine learning. Level 2, which we expect to see at least in 2027, 2028, is that the reasoning AIs. The reasoning AIs are basically a class of AI that can solve problems across a broad range of topics with a human level ability. An example of this, probably a project for assisting doctors or assisting the diagnoser who can help the doctors diagnose patients. However, there are a lot of products in the market, and I also contributed some in our research, in our department, in our faculty. We contributed a lot of research in this area, but it has been a very tough game for at least the healthcare sector to adopt it. Reason being, a lot of technical issues. I will come through these technical issues as we go through the lecture. However, this kind of reasoning AIs, to be adapted, it requires significant advancements in human-machine interaction, the interface with which we interact with the AI, whether it's a visual, whether it's a text, whether a prompt, whether the natural language understanding, how does the AI understands the hints, the body language in our sounds, the emotions, and the logical thinking, the steps, the reasoning across diverse domains. And these, by nature, requires more computational power. And by more computational power, we mean we are going to the extent whereby now data centers now are, some companies are designing mini nuclear plants to power these data centers. They consume a massive amount of energy, sometimes in the order of what states like Malaysia are probably consuming in a year. So they consume more electricity, so we require more power. So now they are planning to design or introduce a mini nuclear plant to power these data centers. And at the same time, since you have more capability to do computations, to crunch data, you should have a lot of data. You should have a lot of data availability. And that's why you see the unethical attitude of so many companies and operating systems like Windows we use every day in stealing your data with your permissions or without your permissions. Almost all softwares that you open basically are grappling to copy your data so they can feed it to their AI. Just recently, 2 weeks back, probably 10 days back, Microsoft for Windows 11, there was a new update. If you notice, this update was very heavy and you have to reboot the machine, took some time. That update, when you read about it, Microsoft has declared that their Windows 11 now given the permission to print screen your computer every 4 seconds. But they say, fret not, this data basically is encrypted and kept on an encrypted file on your operating system. The reason, they said, we want to train our, AI. Fine. Even though privacy is invaded big time, and even though probably there is a leeway to steal your personal data, but we in the opposite hand, they promise us to have a better AI, that the benefits going to trickle down to the normal user and we can produce better productivity. However, I'm not sure I can trust companies, organizations like Microsoft, that they will maintain this data on your operating system. Because why? Very simple reason. Snapshots, basically, when you accumulate it every 4 seconds, that's a lot of snapshots per hour, per minute, per hour, per day, per week, per month, per year. So if you're keeping your laptop for an average of 3 years, you can calculate and work out the amount of data that you need to store on your operating system. So now the operating system will be inflated and it will take a very large amount of data of your space. So this is a way to, in a while, you start complaining. People start complaining to Microsoft, so they have to move this to the cloud. So they'll tell you, move to OneDrive, move to Google Drive, move to, and so on and so forth. So by moving to the drive, you are basically exposing yourself totally. And that's why it's a bit worrying. Level 3, we expect to see probably in 2 to 5 years, is something known as autonomous AI agents. These agents, they act independently without instructions from humans. An example of this, probably managing investment portfolio. So you are placing a manager who manages an investment portfolio, and that's a very sophisticated work and requires a human common sense, wittiness, great advancements in human-machine interaction, strong reasoning capabilities, logical thinking, complex problem-solving skills, very high level of complex problem-solving skills, understanding of physics as well, robust safety frameworks, more strong ethical AI frameworks, which we're lacking today, even though a lot of countries and a lot of organizations and a lot of universities are going after. And I hope, inshallah, IOM can launch something like this, an Islamic ethical framework for AI, sophisticated decision-making algorithms, and probably more self-learning mechanisms. Level 4, which we should expect in 5 to 10 years, are called innovators. Innovators are AIs that is capable of discovering or inventing new ideas and contributing to the human knowledge. So they become like their own Einstein or their own, one of those large or great philosophers, so they can create knowledge. So they can contribute to the knowledge. So they can produce as many PhDs as we want. So this scientific research, probably, for example, I think, or maybe a scientific research assistant discovering new materials for renewable energy, like membranes, like what they're conducting in UTM and in the United Nations, the nuclear agency. But it requires the ability to innovate, exhibiting creativities, deep understanding of complex problems, ability to generate novel ideas, breakthroughs, no more just enhancements, but rather breakthroughs in cognitive AI, in human-machine interaction, in interdisciplinary research, and probably new AI paradigm shifts, taking a new approach to do communication, like, for example, switching to quantum computing and so on and so forth. Level 5, which would be the top of AI, basically is an autonomous organization's AI, the AI that is capable of running the whole of IOM without humans, the whole of the organizations without human interventions, except for probably maintenance or oversight, so auditing only, or maintenance. So, for example, you could do this for a factory. Probably the early versions will be for a factory. So we will have a factory that runs on its own from A to Z without human interventions in a period of 10 years. And this also requires a very comprehensive management and operational capabilities across entire organizations, including you need strategic decision-making, ethical considerations, and major technical advances in AI governance, trust, societal attitudes, regulatory frameworks. So it's a very complicated, issues at hand. If we look at the landscape today, what we have today, we have applications of AI that we see every day in healthcare. We have seen vein finder that allows you to find vein. Okay, so we have seen applications in healthcare where you see a vein finder that allows you to track the veins in your arm, in your hand, so you can poke the body, the needle at the exact location without traumatizing the patient. We have seen AIs that help with breast cancer, like what we have here. We have seen AI that do, for example, help with dental diagnosis for gum and teeth diseases. We have seen in finance, we have seen it commonly employed by banks for fraud detection, algorithmic trading on the stock market, for risk assessment. We have seen it in education now, like what we have in MS Teams, where it creates adaptive learning technologies. Duolingo is a very famous example where it quickly, it tailors the pace of learning to the student need, and you work at your own level. You don't have to finish, or you don't have to achieve the same level of other students at the same time. So it gives you time. And we expect to see advancements in machine learning, in natural language programming, and in robotics. These are major areas where we should see advancements in AI. So in natural language processing, there are 3 levels we work with. Basically, language understanding, and this is very important, a big challenge now. Probably a lot of hurdles has been overcome. That is why now you see most of the GPTs, the chat GPTs and alikes are producing fantastic prompts verbally and text, language translation across probably now 50 or 60 languages, language generation, the capability to create sentences and in a contextually appropriate text, helping with customer service and so on and so forth. This is what we have been, similar examples, what we have been doing at IOM. We have been working on early breast cancer procedure. So for the comfort of your home, we have developed an app for that. We have been testing it at the hospital now. We have worked with SEGI to estimate the amount of tooth bone loss as you age. Your teeth tends to, decay. Their gum tends to raise up or down, and then we're estimating the bone loss, the grading of the bone loss. We are working with UM Hospital, with the Faculty of Dentistry, Restorative Dentistry as well, with a team of doctors, almost finishing the project on the classification of root and canal anatomy. So using micro CT and a lot of advancements in imagery that is very sophisticated in 3D and 2D. And yeah, so there is a lot of narrow AI applications that are proliferating everywhere, and we have been working with it at least for the last 10 years. So how does AI transform human cognition and decision making? Through enhanced analysis, where AI can process a very vast amount of data, offering you insights beyond what you can comprehend or beyond what you can predict or the notion of feeling, from the data, or the notion of analyzing, because it has a very powerful computational resources. Predictive capabilities as well. It can predict because of the feedback, the knowledge it has learned, it can predict. So this will help us in making strategic decision making, not just day-to-day decision making, but rather the strategic decision making that involves a very high risk and involves moving large amounts of money and losing it probably. So this AI expected to transform our human cognition and the way we make decisions. Cognitive offloading. We can offload a lot of the daily tasks that we do, like administrative tasks, like routine jobs, like factory running conveyor belt, repeating the same process, taking food and feeding it into cans, sealing cans and so on and so forth, putting the stickers and all this. A lot of this we see every day, and advancements in these fields. And also it can enhance the decision making by allowing decision makers, for example, to base their choices on data-driven evidence from data analytics algorithms that we work with in our department and computer science, rather than intuition. And also how to do that by identifying hidden patterns in data. One guy was telling me they did a project in Dubai, and he works with the customs and excise department. And he told me just our customs department only, the data sets we are collecting, we can tell exactly in which region, what kind of brands are bought, what prices levels you could sell to this region, favorite colors, brands, type of schools they like, preferences of customers, how we can even sell information to the suppliers, how should they move their inventories during seasons of Rayas, Ramadan, and so on and so forth. So they have been saving them a lot of money, and selling this information, these technical reports made the traders and the business make a lot of money. So it is actually very, very useful. In marketing, in retail as well, AI-driven analytics, the analysis can help us understand what is the customer behavior. We think that for example, Deepavali, people will be buying a lot of murukus, but suddenly in some region we don't see people buying murukus. So what is the reason behind that? Transactions, financial transactions, commercial transactions can help us understand a lot about consumer behavior. analyzing the purchasing patterns, discovering customer preferences, optimizing the inventories, and tailoring the marketing strategies and product offerings up to the individual level is basically now day-to-day business we deal with on daily basis. Okay, what are the potential benefits if we introduce AI augmented thinking? In augmented thinking, we will most probably see this evidence in something called personalized learning, or sometimes called accelerated learning, or rather I would call it accelerated and personalized learning, where what we probably trying to introduce in IOM, and what many universities are now trying to introduce, or what many companies are investing software to do for the education sector, where AI tailors the education content and optimize the individual learning paths to rapid skills. For example, these are done through technologies. They call them adaptive learning technologies. What is these adaptive? They are adaptive learning technologies. Basically, they are technologies, softwares that customize the learning process and the experience to meet the individual student need. So, for example, you could use, based on the data from the students, the achievements, like what we have there, the achievements in terms of the POs, the achievements in terms of grades, quizzes, marks, the rubrics. If you feed this to a tool like this, it can tell you this student is having difficulty in this topic or in this field, or in solving complex problems, or in grasping the fundamentals in this area. So it can adapt the content of your course to his pace, to his difficulty levels. It can adapt the learning system as all to his level, so that it will ensure that every student receives knowledge as much as he could at the maximum level, and it will foster inclusiveness, and nobody will feel is left behind. This impacts two things. The outcomes, the learning outcomes, are impacted in two ways. First, you have better engagement. Students, when are treated this way, even in a day-to-day basis with your class, they become more engaging. They tend to study. They invest time to go back and study on their own. They spend more time. If this student requires only 10-15 minutes to revise, he requires 2 hours. He will find the time and the power and the will to invest those 2 hours to study. We will have information retention. Information doesn't come in when you ask students in class, last semester you covered this topic, so this is a prerequisite, so I'm assuming now you have studied this subject. And you start, and they'll tell you, sir, it was never covered before. So this not that was not covered before, because you've designed the syllabus, you know, and you know they have covered because you're following the symbol. But the information retention rate is so low. Why? The class was not motivational enough, but not engaging enough. Adaptive learning technologies was not introduced, and therefore you have a very low retention rate. So if you want to improve students' performance, this is the way to do it. This is where we should focus our research, especially with KICT, our brothers at KICT. They can come up with fantastic, what we saw, training software, educational software for students. There is a tool called Duolingo, software that teaches you language. It's a very famous, it's one of the most famous adaptive learning technologies. It teaches you language at your own pace, at your level, and you could study it anytime. We can see it in continuous education now. Many universities are doing this, so you could study at your pace, weekends, whenever you have free time, you finish the modules, and when you're done with the modules, you come for the test. So this is a perfect way of example of a technologies, adaptive learning technologies, that produces, or that impacts us, the learning outcomes, by producing more engagements and at the same time increasing the information retention. Okay. AI also is when you look at it in the creative process, it certainly enhances our creativity, enhances our innovation. And the best example for this is what you see now in art, especially when AI collaborates with the humans. When AI collaborates with the humans, they produce novel, really, really striking artworks and music compositions. For example, we see this on daily basis on Facebook, Twitter, on TikTok, and in many social medias, and on many websites and post blogs where people talking about new artworks, musicians discussing new songs, new lyrics, new, poetry, new short stories, and that they have assembled with the help of AI. So these artworks that basically collaboration between humans and AI, they challenge the traditional notion of authorship. Who owns the product, the AI or the artist? They challenge the creativity as well. Who created it? What's the amount of contribution put in terms of the artist and the AI across various types? So AI, how does it do that? It analyzes vast amounts of data, for example, musical structures. You feed it with a lot of songs, genres, styles. It will allow it to generate and compose melodies, harmonies, and new rhythms. These rhythms are very innovative, so innovative that when people listen to it, it tickles them. It tickles their senses. It resonates with them. So the song become very famous. And then suddenly the artists say, oh, this was done with the help of this AI tool. Also, the natural language processing technologies that we see has enabled us to generate contextually relevant text, brainstorm ideas, even craft entire narratives for a story, short story, or a poetry. That also challenges the authorship and the creativity. So AI now is going through very drastic changes in the fields of arts and music. However, I have a very interesting take on this. This lady is asking for your thoughts. So please read and tell me what you think. Any thoughts, ladies?
This can be a very lady's wish.
Yes, very true. The way AI now is competing with the humans for arts, and rather than composing songs and writing novels, rather than doing the dishes and helping with the chores, the house and the office. So that, if it's done the other way around, it should free people. So this lady made this very interesting meme about, I want to do my laundry and dishes rather than do art and writing. Why not me do the art and writing and let the AI do the physical work for me, which is very true. I find it very amusing.
I think Elon Musk has already Elon Musk has already come out with the robot that can do help with isn't it?
Yes. For house chores, yes. Okay, so how does AI impact our jobs? And this is very important for us to understand. This is extremely important. If we understand this today, probably I'm very happy if everyone comprehends the how does AI impact our jobs. The rise of AI has impacted us in 4 ways. Automation, basically AI-powered automation, not just normal automation, but AI, which is smart, intelligent automation, is revolutionizing industries all over the place, including Malaysia. They're replacing repetitive tasks that is done by humans, but with intelligent systems. These autonomous or this AI automation, it basically, it is very good at doing repetitive tasks for large volumes. So it will probably render a lot of jobs obsolete. As in our history, we have seen a lot of jobs go obsolete. It will increase the efficiency because at the speed, at the rate at which it does things, it's very difficult to compete with. So human strength is out. And at the same time, it will save a lot of money, money. So you'll be doing it at a fraction of cost, very small percentage from the cost when employing people. So automation is definitely a big way where AI is going to impact our jobs. Second is in data analysis. When AI advances data processing capabilities, it will unlock insights that previously untapped. And this is we cannot do as well because we cannot notice, not all of us are good at noticing patterns. You have to look at a vast amount of data beyond your human capabilities. You cannot do that. Our brains cannot do that. Where these computers can handle a massive amount of data. They'll probably take you all your life to read. Intelligent assistants. These virtual assistants are becoming ubiquitous. especially with the chats everywhere. Every company now has chatbot helping you process or do whatever. Sometimes, to the extent, when you speak to some banks like HSBC in Dubai, you cannot tell actually the guy who's providing you the customer service is a human being or a robot. It's very human friendly and interacts with just like with the way we reason, with the way we logically think. And it brings you have to be very sharp to notice the subtleness in the errors he makes, to figure out, oh, this is actually a robot, not a human. Very difficult for the average person to tell the difference. Autonomous systems as well. AI is enabling the development of self-driving vehicles, and we've seen it everywhere. Drones, self-driving drones, we have seen it every day on the news. And other autonomous systems, submersibles, boats, submarines, you name it. Where is the sectors that is most affected? Number one is manufacturing. Manufacturing is a key. Manufacturing has been taking a hit for a while now, since automation was introduced. And now since automation became even more powerful, became AI enabled, so we expect them to do more replacement of human workers. Transportation, self-driving vehicles and AI-powered logistics delivering goods from place to place threatens jobs, threatens drivers, threatens delivery workers and dispatchers. So probably we will see big change in here. Administrative roles. If your job involves a lot of administrative roles, like data entry, like scheduling, like clerical tasks, most probably all these can be done with a computer in a very fast way. That will reduce the demand for office support. So if I look at Industrial Revolution has made the human strength relevant because of the machinery that came in. So what 10 men used to move a trunk of a tree, now a small forklift can do it with one person. So we have eliminated 9 people from the job. Same thing, we expect AI to make human intelligence relevant. Do you agree? Will it make a human intelligence relevant?
I think no, Prof.
I know, yeah, to a certain extent, no. For a lot of lazy bums around, yes, because when calculators came in, children forgot how to memorize multiplications because calculators made this very easy tool, so we don't need to memorize it. Typewriters, when they came, we don't have to write by hand. Computers, when they came, they automated a lot of tasks. GUI in Windows, when they came, we moved in 1991 when the internet was introduced. I was a researcher back then. We moved from command prompt to a GUI. So for example, if we look at a protocol like FTP that allows you to transfer file from one server to a server, it has almost 200 commands. I asked students doing networking, how many commands do you know? 0. Why? Because you only have one button, upload or download or cancel. That's it. So it made the background, the what's happening in the background, you are oblivious to it. It hides these details. So it took a lot of, so I think in the same manner, if we classify jobs as elastic and inelastic, elastic jobs like healthcare, probably the advancements would require more people because now it will improve and increase the number of services we provide. So we need more people to help us. So in healthcare, definitely AI will increase the number of users. Same like what we used to say before with accountants. Everybody said when Excel sheet came out, that's it. Accountants are gone, finished. We are producing more accountants than before because we are using Excel become now proliferated, became on every machine we use. So we need people to audit what Excel is doing and revise and confirm and take agency and responsibility for that. We cannot trust Excel on its own. So we need more accountants. But in elastic jobs, like as I told you, clerical jobs, drafting a letter before 20 minutes takes now 5 minutes. You only need probably 5 minutes to revise it very quickly. In a few seconds, you get the letter. It takes 5 minutes to revise it. And this 5 minutes delay or 4.51 or 52 seconds is because of the human delay. You revise the draft. So any repetitive tasks is definitely going to be replaced by AI across all industries. But any task that involves routine work, predictable work, repetitive pattern or action, like data entry, manufacturing, customer service, and some most admit that all these are prime targets for AI, machine learning, automation. Okay, let's look at, since AI excels at handling large volumes, definitely it will do a lot of the work we do today. So now it leaves us with a lot of free time. So what we need to do, we need to redefine the roles. IOM, for example, need to redefine the roles of clerks and administrative staff. Since these tools are being introduced and they'll become commonplace in the next 5 to 10 years, we have to redefine the job scope for administrative staff, for technical staff. And it will force them, for them to keep their job, they have to learn new skills and reskill themselves by tasks like they should do things like critical thinking, come up with more creative solutions and problem solving. There is one topic that is never discussed, and you will never find it anywhere discussed, which is basically disruptive AI technologies and investments is the heaviest in defense sector. And the evidence for that, what you see happening, unfortunately, in Muslim land in Gaza, and what you see happening in Ukraine. I have seen it in 3 places. 2011, I have seen 2016, I have seen Turkey 19, Turkish army using drones in the middle of the Libyan desert to attack Russians, soldiers. It's a smart drone, it's just like a missile. It goes and it chases the soldier wherever he hides and kills him. We have seen it repeated now, right now, in the Ukrainian war. It targets humans, it targets, machinery, and we have seen it in bullets. So now the job of snipers is also out. The bullet itself has a hardware with the AI on it, so it tracks the target, and wherever the target moves, it go after him until it hits him. So even snipers, you don't have to be a good sniper to hit your enemy. So there is a lot of competition, silent competitions in defense sector. Same thing happening on between China, between Alphabet and Meta AI. The race is very hot, and whoever come up with better product wins the game. Okay, where is the ROI that's generated go to? Does it go to the individuals or to the average person? I don't think so. I think corporations will become inflated. It will generate massive amount of wealth, huge abundance beyond measure, but mostly it will go to the corporations. It will not go to the out. This is my personal opinion of the way to look at it, the way it looks right now. That is why they're becoming very aggressive in obtaining data. You can tell the patterns, the way they behave, it tells you a lot. OpenAI was originally basically is a project that's supposed to be an open, so everybody can contribute and everybody can share information. But now it's as closed as hell. You cannot get anything. You don't know even what type of transformers are being used, hybrid types. You cannot tell anything. Nobody knows the source code. So it become a lot. This even raised the questions by people from Microsoft, from Elon Musk as well, who are early investors in this, that what they're doing is not right. It's very dangerous. You don't know where they're moving it. And I know for sure there's a lot of investment there in the defense sector, because so that's where the money is, the big bulk of money is. From a philosophical point of view, how is AI gonna interact or become conscious, sentient? I think the issue of sentient is basically, it means how does AI think? Okay, so looking at it from a philosophical implications, there are 3 implications. First, basically the conscience itself. So this is forcing us to learn more about conscience, because conscience is a very subjective, a very complex, elusive phenomenon. It involves subject experience, it involves awareness, sense of self, which all this missing now. Understanding this relationship with the AI is a very challenging philosophical pursuit for us, at least from point of view of electronics right now. Comparing human intelligence to machine cognition, this also, this remarkable capacities of abstract reasoning, emotion, and self-reflection is definitely needed for AI to replicate what we can do. That is why we always creatures of Allah. So we're always one step ahead of what we create. And that is the order of hierarchy Allah created in this earth. The search on this universe, the search for sentience. How can we make the machine think or achieve super conscious sentience, just like a human conscience? And that's extremely hard to do. But there is a lot of research and pushing towards that. So basically, these are the on conscience level. On ethics, the ethical framework that we use to guide development deployment AI today is almost non-existent. So we need to develop these frameworks to shape the future of humanity on the planet. For example, 3 issues stands when you come to the ethical dilemma. First thing is the identity crisis. Okay, on identity crisis, the more proliferation of AI has brought us challenges in, for example, blurring the line between who has done this job. Was it done by AI or was it done by human? I gave you the example of the HSBC bank in Dubai and the customer service. In the moral agency, the artist who produced the new song or wrote the new, what is his contribution? Who owns the rights for this? If it has caused harm, who is responsible? The person who collaborated with the AI or the AI itself? So the moral agency is very important. Existential threats, the fear of AI becoming uncontrollable. And this is very true. We have seen this. We have seen Tesla cars that is powered by AI as an autonomous car and suddenly goes out of control and might even cause physical harm to humans and to assets. So this is an existential threat. So we see it every day with our own eyes. So these are the 3 major issues that is discussed or being pursued or ping-ponged now in discussions and forums on the ethical issues. If you look at the, the ethical issues or considerations in the development and integration, first thing is basically fairness. How fair or how biased your AI is. Bias by nature is good. We are created biased. We have to have bias. We must have bias, but good type of bias, not bad type of bias. The good type of bias is that we want to, when you come into a situation, whether you want to save a human or a cat, definitely you're biased towards saving a human. Losing money or saving life, definitely you're going with the life. So that kind of bias is good. But there are a lot of bad type of bias that sway us or make us make the wrong type of decision, like in investment portfolios, like in stock market, like in medical diagnosis. So that is very dangerous. So that kind of bias, discriminating against human race, human gender, human color, any that is un-Islamic, unethical, un-Islamic that we think of, all this is a major issue for AI. Privacy of data. That data, like I told you, Microsoft is stealing from us. The price of your personal data, medical records, wherever you go online, your bank transactions, you go to a restaurant, you buy some food, you pay with a debit card or credit card, and the next day you have advertisement from that coming as an SMS, not even through the internet, through SMS for that restaurant. It chases you on WhatsApp, it chases you on Facebook, it chases you on Twitter or TikTok, wherever you go, on your Google default page, on your news portal, everywhere you get to see that restaurant. So that privacy and the data rights, the consent from me to use my data is very important. That is why we need legal and legal ethical framework to control that. The accountability, as I told you, the nature of this black box, we don't know, we cannot predict what would the AI do. That makes it difficult to interpret the outcome. And this brings the accountability. Who's responsible for that? The developer or the AI? So that's a very important issue. Transparency as well. Making AI processes decision-making explainable. So we see the logic, because there is also responsibility. So the more transparent it becomes, and the more understandable to humans, the more transparent it becomes, the more ethical it becomes. These are basically a summary of the challenges in AI, transparency, and accountability. I will leave it for you to go through. This is basically challenge, this is basically the impact, and this is the potential solution. So on the challenge, for example, bias in training data, the impact it will produce unfair decisions. How do we solve it? By diversifying our data sets, by using representative data sets for all different types of classes. Challenge like a black box algorithms that we don't see because the deep learning has become involved many layers. So it's very difficult for us to predict how the neural network will operate. So we cannot, the impact is that we cannot explain the behavior. We don't know why it has produced it this way. So the solution is to produce an interpretable AI models. For example, looking at the solution it has done, you're happy with the way the model works. Okay, now reverse engineer it, synthesize it, and come up with a simple AI, explainable, and that is understandable, and then to do the same thing. Unclear responsibility. That is another challenge that the ethical, ethical framework is supposed to handle. This impacts us in difficulty in assigning the blame. So this impacts, the law enforcement authorities, insurance, banks, you name it. A lot of sectors are affected by this, and it's very important. And how we resolve it? By clear accountability framework. So we need an ethical framework that doesn't exist today. So these are all motivations for regulatory frameworks that is responsible for the AI use, which I don't think I have seen any Islamic AI framework being proposed or touted right now. What we have right now is fragmented regulations related to a specific application or specific sector, inconsistent AI policies across regions. Every region has its own. It creates regulatory gaps and challenges. So unifying them, or at least unifying 80-90% and leaving 20% niche for specific regions. So creating the locals. So what goes in Malaysia does not go in Singapore. What goes in Singapore does not go in Thailand. What goes in Thailand does not go in Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth. Then in the near future, we expect to see global cooperation on the development of regulatory frameworks. So unless we come up with some draft and we know what we want and what we should see, we wouldn't be able to collaborate. So this is very important, this cooperation. In 2030, probably we will see adaptive regulations that is dynamic regulatory frameworks that evolves over time and real time as AI changes, because AI moving very fast. So you have to cope up with the speed. So that goes to the faculty of laws to help us come up with some draft in engineering and computer science. So at IIOM, can we come up with an AI regulatory framework that involves Tawhidic OBE, Tawhidic SAF that we are touting nowadays, that protects the Maqasid al-Sharia, that Islamizes the SDGs, because SDGs basically is not un-Islamized, so we need to Islamize them. So can we come up with an AI that looks at these issues? Can somebody initiate this process? I think this is definitely for people from IRK, law, education, and KICT in engineering is definitely, and medicine as well, medicine. So this is definitely a very important plus and big contribution for IOM. This is a chance, an opportunity for IOM to shine and appear. Nothing is discussing this. Even in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, they are not investing in anything like this. This approach is left behind, more a secular approach. So whatever the world adopts, they will just copy. So that localization, the locals is not there. So we need to create that local, that touch, the Islamic touch of it. So protects our identity, protects our, protects our Islamic identities. So why do we need a legal and regulatory framework? Let's look at it this way. Actually, there is no threat in AI itself. There are a lot of wrongs in the value system of humanity. For example, let's say you have a new child and he was born with superpowers. Your son can lift heavy objects, he can fly, he can swim, he can do a lot of things everybody cannot do. So now, if you teach him to protect society, to serve society, he becomes a Superman. If you teach him how to rob a bank, he becomes a supervillain. So what do you want in him? What you instill in him? What ethics, what the framework you create for the AI is what creates our future, the future for our humanity, the future for our ummah. That is very important. That's why I'm saying this is definitely a plus contribution for IOM. Somebody should take the flag forward. Okay, there are a lot of key challenges facing AI in the next decade. I have about 60 slides for this. I can summarize them in 4 issues, which is basically data privacy and interoperability, interpretability, labeled data, what should I call it? And security, hardware requirements, and so on. If we have time at the end of the class today, and everybody still is interested, I can show you the slides. We can go them very quickly. Otherwise, I will skip them for maybe for another lecture, because they're a bit technical, even though they are light touch and not shallow, not very heavy, but they're discussing a lot of technical issues and a lot of terminologies, a lot of bombastic terms. But sometimes it's interesting to know about these terms so you are not left behind in the conversation. So if we have time, I'll try to switch and go through them. Okay, what are the future trends in AI? What do we expect to see from AI? There are a lot of emerging technologies now. Quantum computing that was attempted by KICT research team 10 years back. Now we have a lot of products that uses quantum computers, that uses quantum computing, that, for example, that's still under research, but it's owned by large corporations, that allows us to do not endless, but a very large number of processes in parallel at the same time. So this facilitates, simplifies the computation, and at the same time allows us to solve very complex problem in a split of a second, beyond what these supercomputers that work today do. So it's like render them obsolete. And this is a very interesting field. It involves a lot of physics, and it's moving away from the fabric of semiconductors. We're going now into moving into liquids and gas physics to initiate that. In advanced robotics, cobots, humans working with robots to what we call do sophisticated tasks. So these robots, for example, with enhanced dexterity, freedom of movement, perception, autonomy in decision making, they can change industries big time, especially healthcare and manufacturing. Blockchain technology can provide secure transactions, and this is what we need. Transparent data infrastructure for AI. This will help us with the accountability and the trust issue. Internet of Things. Internet of Things devices are proliferating now everywhere. There are billions of them now installed, and they are on the rise. So gathering their large and vast amount of data, analyzing it, can help us automate the decision making, optimize the process. Technologies that falls under here is, for example, digital twinning. Digital twinning, I used to have a former student, now he's in France, working on the same topic on digital twinning, where you can train people. He works for a company now. They're training a factory who manufactures ship engines. Ship engines are very heavy and very large engines. So they break them into blocks and you have to assemble them. They are very heavy. So for workers to move around and in the storage and in the inventory, buildings and all this, moving things, it causes a lot of stress on your joints. So and this in France means more insurance, more health services, early retirements, and more compensation. To resolve this, digital twinning allows people to wear specific suits that has sensors on all these joints with goggles, and you get to see your avatar, and your avatar will train you on how to handle and move heavy things to reduce the stress. Okay, so that it will teach you how to do it. So that is very interesting application I have seen. I've did a meeting with them and he showed me what they have been doing. So very, very interesting. Hologram communication as well, providing communication over a distance. So that involves a lot of AI to render the communication, or to render the shape that you see as real. It takes a lot of sensors, to implement and to imitate real life scenarios, sounds, background, and so on and so forth. So you don't feel, it tricks you whether this person is actually on stage or somewhere else. These are major advantages that we expect them to merge with AI or invoke AI in the works, and they will go leaps and bounds beyond what we predict. Also, this pushes for an human-centric AI design. We need to understand, first thing you learn in software engineering is that you need to do system analysis. So you need to understand the human needs, because then creating software that does something is just as the something is not good. We need to create a software that helps us solve a problem that we need. So we need to invent and innovate based on what we need, not based on what we can. Yeah. So if you look at telecommunications technologies and networking, up to the second generation, it was what we can do. The technology you have back then is what we can do. This is what we know. The knowledge pushed us up to here. From 10th generation on, no, it has a value added. So now it started producing things that we need. So it's no more a challenge. Technology is no more challenge. It's the service we provide is the challenge. It's the design of the service. So since then, same thing on software. We need first thing to do is to understand the human needs. So AI development starts with a thorough research on user requirements and expectations. That's why we need a very sophisticated breakthroughs in HMIs and human-machine interactions. Collaborative designs. So diverse stakeholders are in the AI process. Their engagements help us come up with a very inclusive solutions that everybody can adopt. We don't have to fight later on. Iterative testing as well. This will reduce the errors. It will refine the AI systems based on our feedback and real work performance that we see. All these are basically our human-centric design traits that we should see. What is our predictions? Or what do we expect? Or how will AI evolve in the next decade? Okay, the first thing I see, I try to chronologize them, so I link them. The first thing we should see a very large shift in the way deep learning is designed. So it's not throw more data, it's not add more layers. No, approach has to be different. Probably it will be hybrid. So we should see continuous breakthroughs in neural networks that will enable us to do more accurate recognition and better decision capabilities. This will lead us to something called the super intelligent AI. The super intelligent AI that will surpass the human intelligence, that will be smarter than human. Probably, if that is achieved, it will lead to a transformative societal changes. First, number one is the ethical framework to control its behavior. That is number one. And make it controllable, understandable, and interpretable. Third, developing super intelligent AI, that means increasing autonomy, allowing to AI to make decisions on your behalf and trusting the machine to do that. During accident, driving on the road, flying an airplane, any risky situation. So that autonomy to the machine to make decisions is happening already. It is not fully autonomous, but autonomic. So there is a certain percentage that requires a human auditing, human follow-up, and a human intervention. But it's going towards full autonomy. So you have no control over what it does. So it's better that from the design, you instill these legal and ethical frameworks in the design itself. So AI will become more autonomous, able to adapt and make decisions without any human intervention. Also, this calls for more human AI collaboration. So AI and humans can work together in symbiotic relationships that will, with all AI augmenting and enhancing human capabilities. What we see in those exoskeleton example, where you have a human who sits into an exoskeleton and gets to walk, and it will help him move heavy objects, do a lot of things that he can do. So the collaboration between AI, we have cobots that is now almost becoming commonplace in rehabilitation centers, in some factories, and in many places. This also calls for something also never discussed, the super laws or super lethal autonomous weapon systems, laws. These super laws using AI, what you see today is just laws. Lethal autonomous weapon system. I mentioned to you what you see on TV every day, on the videos on Twitter, on X and other on Telegram from Ukraine, coming up from Ukraine, the Russian-Ukraine war. Making them super is making them super intelligent, super performance. So they can identify human targets, they can destroy them, they can destroy machinery. They can, colloquially, they call them slaughter bots, killer bots. And the kind of research here or the race for this is called arms race. This, if we don't agree, if we leave it open without any gentleman agreement on this, I think we're heading for a big disaster, because this definitely will trickle down to the average person, and then everybody can become a villain. You knock somebody on a motorbike in IOM and you don't know what's going to do for you. we have to be very careful with this. Ethical governance. We should see ethical AI governance. We should expect to see ethical AI governance. It's going in this direction, whether we like it or not. So better we also contribute rather than accepting what they offer us. So let me get your thoughts on these ideas. And Dr. Malik, if you can open the mic for everybody to share. I have these ideas that it's basically AI policing. It's like a bad cop versus good cop. Bad AI versus good AI. In cybersecurity, where I come from, my background, the more you create a more sophisticated tool to detect intrusions, cyber intrusions, and catch people who want to intrude into your networks and steal your data, the more the villains become more powerful. Because you're not dealing with humans, you're dealing with machines. So your machine also has to be very powerful. So you always have to be ahead of the other side. Same thing. We need more AI, more powerful AI, which calls for more powerful data centers, more powerful computation powers, more powerful hardware to catch the dark side of AI. Why? Simple example. You can generate fake data. You can generate false informations. Just look at it at the elections that happened, the last round elections in the US and the round before. Horrible, horrible flood of fake news and fake data that confused people, could not make decision on where to vote. So we need very powerful AI to detect those and shut them down in real time. Okay, in real time. So just like in cybersecurity, every company in every country is being hacked and attacked. So for you to stay ahead of the game, you need to create better cybersecurity, AI-powered cybersecurity. Same thing for AI. How can AI fool us? Can AI itself fool us? Can it make us think that it's actually conscious? We don't control AI first. For a start, we don't control AI. Why? Because we don't understand it. What we do with AI, with all researchers, including those in ION, what we do is just like we create, we modify, we enhance a learning algorithm. We tell the AI, we tell the neural network, this is the way you should learn. This is the rules for you to learn. Okay, that's it. Now, what does the neural network do? It will create a very sophisticated and powerful network that we can neither understand, we can neither explain, nor control. 3 of them. So this is a fact, and this has made a lot of people leave from OpenAI and Google because they don't agree with what they are doing, direction they're going, because they're worried that losing control, not understanding, or being able to explain the actions of the AI is very risky. This is a very risky approach to AI. So we should stop. And because of the contradiction of way of thinking, these people decided to resign or take a step back. That's why you see a lot of now videos, a lot of people discussing this issue, but it has been there for quite some time. It's not that talk of yesterday. So the solution, we need a super power AI that allows us to learn, to control. So we need interpretable AI, understandable AI that we can control. So the approach to designing AI has to be governed by this ethical and legal AI. So can AI fool us? Can AI make us think that it's conscious? Yeah, it might be able to fool us that it's conscious if it mimics human behavior, and like in humans and animals, by fine-tuning and sharpening its model. An example of this, the HSBC Bank I told you in Dubai. These subtleties that you really need to be very sharp to notice. Otherwise, it can easily fool you that there is a human being, you're speaking to a human being. Similar to its roles in robotics. If it fails for the first time, it will engage all the AI processes to learn how to walk on one arm, or maybe walk around with one arm. And then this is an endless process. So AI can keep on doing it, getting better results, refining, resharpening the model, figure out how to apply it in all different scenarios. That's it. That is the maximum the AI can achieve for now, because we're stuck in a silicon-based architecture. What we can do with silicon, if I get to speak on the technical issues, probably you can understand it more. There is a limit on the amount of power we can supply. There's a limit on the amount of power the hardware can take. There is a limit on the amount of electronics, or the flow of electrons into these semiconductors. We have brought down the electronics to be so narrow That is almost now we are looking at a few electrons passing through, a very few number of electrons passing through, instead of very large infinite number of electrons of flowing from the emitter to the collector, for example, for the p-n junction. Something that has to do with the switching on and off in the electronics. So that has put a limit on the amount of current that flows. So now your electronics have become very sensitive to even a blow of hot air, like. So it can render your zeros ones and ones zeros. It will change the voltage flowing into the pipes. The speed, just your PCB, the speed moving into the, if you have sharp edges, it becomes like an antenna. So it loses energy. So you have to create discontinuities. A lot of issues on with the hardware that needs to be tackled. So for what we have right now, it is impossible unless we move to quantum computing. It is impossible to have a conscious AI. So we will see as we go. Now I would like to ask everybody if they have any feedback on this. I love to hear your opinion on what I've been saying, at least for these three issues. Dr. Malik, if you can allow them to share their ideas or the feedback.
Yes. Anyone would like to ask question to Prof. Hadi? Or you disagree with something? Okay, Prof, I have one question. For example, let's say let's say Elon Musk is now developing the robot that can do the house chores. And how, like you mentioned just now, how can we make sure that the robot is capable of doing a good, make sure that it is always in good behavior? We may not know that the robot may be able to learn to do bad things that can harm the household, for example.
Yeah, there I agree with you. There is a case I read recently where the sweeping machine camera was taking photos of the owner in the bathroom. So it's very dangerous. It's sharing it with the server. They managed to lock the server, they retrieved and they apologized for the owner, but it's very risky, very risky. These things have become like spy agents. This is unethical behavior. This is because the company is not unaccountable. The AI is not, we don't know whether to blame the machine. The company blames the machine and you blame the company. But there is no legal framework to catch them. There's no legal framework to sue them at court. You understand? That is why we say the legal and the ethical framework, the regulatory framework is very important before it has to go hand in hand, because when that regulator is approved, you forcing the manufacturers and to instill these rules in the design process. So it becomes a human-centric. It's called ethical, human ethics-centric, Islamic ethics-centric AI, not just AI. You understand? That is very important, very, very important. Plus the risk you see, what you see with Tesla cars and the accident you see with the autonomous car, taxis, same thing. So if it's not properly regulated, who will be responsible for it? The accountability, very important. The transparency of the process. So it has to be there in the design. Safety and security measures come first.
Okay. Sure. You want to ask?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes,
Yeah,
please go ahead.
Okay. One question, Prof, that I am a student of behaviors. I teach in Kulia of Economics and Management Sciences, but as far as the machines are concerned, I'm very much concerned about the use of AI with humans, because from a behavior perspective, the machines do not have emotions, but humans have emotions. So the more integration of machines and humans will be, the lesser will be the the exchange of emotions. So I see a lot of repercussions once the machines will be amalgamating with the humans and interacting with humans. So how this factor can be taken over? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing the interesting question. Actually, this is what protecting your job. This trait you have in humans, which is the emotional intelligence, is what's protecting your job. It is one of the major issues. I'm coming in my slides. One of the major factors that is actually AI cannot compete with the humans is basically emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very important. The body language, the way we conduct ourselves, which, by the way, females are more powerful, way powerful than males in doing it. They have a lot of emotions. They have a flood of emotions. And these skills are needed for AI. They can solve a lot of complex problems in parallel. We think sequential in nature. They can do a lot of things in parallel. Yes, at a reduced level of efficiency, but yeah, they can achieve many tasks at the same time. Just watch your wife. She can sweep, she can cook, feed the baby, clean the house, listen to the news, talk to the neighbor, all at the same time. It's impossible for me to do any of these. I can only do it once at a time. So they are superhumans compared to what we can do. Yeah, we excel in some things, but now what the AI is looking for, mostly female traits. I have to be honest with you. Most of the traits needed for AI is female traits. So you should see a proliferation of ladies taking over a lot of jobs with AI. So emotions, yes, that is a strength for humans. Strength for humans to show empathy that the AI cannot do for now. Hopefully AI does not reach a stage it becomes conscious, and then we have to compete with it.
Right, Prof. We have several questions from the chat. I would like to, one of the question is from Dr. Min. AI or AR companies have committed plagiarism because they just copied the knowledge already produced by humans and uploaded into AI, and AI reproduce again when anyone asks it. What is your comment on this one?
That is very true. I agree with 100% with you, Dr. Amin. Very true. The OpenAI doesn't want to admit it, but Elon Musk admitted it. Nothing legal, nothing ethical about their attitude. As I told you, the more complex, the more sophisticated the AI becomes, the more deep the AI becomes, the larger amount of data you need, the huge amount of data you need to feed it, so it can learn. It can create better patterns of learning and can come up with better products and surprise you. So for you to do this, they are doing it because there is a competition. There's a lot of money, billions at stake. So there's a lot of competition. The competition is so heavy in all the, as I told you, in defense, in civilian applications, and it's merciless. There is no rule. There is no ethics, nothing to control it. There is no legal framework to hold them accountable. So they're resorting to stealing data at any cost. It doesn't matter. This data is voice, video, text, books, published papers, proprietary materials, patents. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Whatever they can get their hands on, they copy. Very aggressive, very, very aggressive. So unless we have that, what I'm talking about, the AI framework, the legal and the ethical framework, regulatory framework, that is, we don't know. Probably, I think probably this will bring a demise to AI, or at least maybe not a demise, but will turn a lot of people off from using it because everybody will not trust it. We will have a major trust issues, and this will delay the process of adaptation. People will not adopt the AI. They'll be very scared. So unless these are resolved, it will hit a snag. It will reach a bottleneck where everybody will think several times before investing into AI.
Okay, Prof. Another question from Dr. Sabaria. What is the professor's opinion regarding the fact that humans today spend more time with devices and no longer have time to interact with friends? It seems that AI is distancing humans from society. So what is your opinion?
I agree. I agree, actually. I totally agree with this. This is basically an observation by everybody. It is actually distancing human beings from each other. This generation, actually, we should pity this generation. It has the worst experience ever. This generation grew up to be, the I is quite amplified in them. They only love themselves. Their attitude is only love yourself, only think of yourself. Nobody cares about you. The attitude, the social media, the social networks brought to us, the social media brought to us, is emphasizing, re-emphasizing this notion, instilling it, jacking our head, making sure it's there, it's retained forever, that you are on your own in this world. And this is very risky because we are losing communication. And some people now, you notice, they cannot even converse. without the the ooh, the It's very funny, very funny. They can write very well. I went to Canada a few years back, long time ago, maybe 20 years back, and I was surprised. I wanted to take the TOEFL, so I was taking the TOEFL not for myself, but because one of my colleagues, my roommates, asked me to take the TOEFL with him, and the exam was in UBC. We took the exam, and alhamdulillah, we passed the TOEFL. There was then Chinese girl was crying frantically in front of the hall. So we asked her, what is wrong? She said, this is my 14th time I take a TOEFL. She has an issue, she can really write well. She has issues with grammar, she has issues with communication. She cannot communicate well. Reason being, always busy on the internet with video games and all this. And that time was the high tide for the video games. Now it's even worse. Now, if not a video game, it's Facebook. So Facebook, it's a TikTok that steals your senses until you become unconscious. So you flip through and you don't notice what is going on. You don't even remember what did you see. A lot of the images you see, there is not enough space for your brain to handle a large amount of data. So your brain becomes lazy, switches off to the mode of laziness and delete, 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 delete. And this becomes addictive. This becomes addictive because it brings a spike of joy, a spike of hormonal joy, and then disappears. So you want more, you want more, you want more, you want more, you want more. It tickles your senses, the gossip, the unknown information, the things that are taboo for you, haram to see. You see, anything taboo, people automatically is attracted to it, especially the young generation. How you resolve this? By increasing the communication between you and your children, by increasing communication between you and your husband, by interacting more with the environment, with the people surrounding you. Unless we force a rule, a protocol to switch off the handphone from this hour to this hour, it will be very difficult, very difficult, very difficult to survive. It will bring silos, it will isolate us. So probably having lunch on the same table, everybody in a different world. So this is a very dangerous situation. It's very true, I agree with you. And I pity the one who's paying the price is this generation. And who's at fault? It's us. It's us because nobody has thought of this. It's a greed, going after the money, creating anything involving psychology to create software, to enslave people mentality, to generate more wealth, and not considering any ethics or any what should I call it, a human empathy in the design. So that's a very major issue. I think this issue will stay with us for some time. So we have to find a way to protect ourselves. I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Another question from Dr. Arshad. There was this assumption that AI won't penetrate the world of art. Okay, as it is the domain of human creativity and the capability of it accessing human emotions. Yet now we are seeing it. AI is being able to produce stunning graphics, paintings, images in many forms of art. This has started to cause concern among the practitioners in the particular field. So what's your say about that one?
Okay, I think I have seen one recent case for an artist who composed a song using AI, the lyrics, and at the same time the music, and this song became hit. I don't want to mention the song, then I'm promoting the song. So the song became a big hit, and everybody's listening to it, and he made a lot of money. But he told his friends that for him, he did not produce anything. Everything was done by the AI. And when the company found out, they sued him, and he's in jail. There's a court case in the US for his case. So engagement of AI in art and music is definitely there. It has been there for quite some time. Now it's proliferating, and the cooperation between humans and machines can come up with so many creative, innovative products in terms of music and in terms of lyrics, poetry, and short story. But still, the issue of accountability, the issue of agency is not handled unless we have a legal, ethical framework that tells us who's right This is who's responsible for this, who's accountable. Only then we will know what's for us and what's against us. Without it, it's very difficult to manage. I told you now, because it's the frenzy of everybody found a new tool that it has no limits. Why AI is dangerous? AI has no limits to what you can do with it. When the internet came, there is a limit to what the internet can do. When industrial revolution came, there is a limit to what you can do with physics on machines and all this. But this industrial revolution, this AI revolution, it's extremely difficult to put boundaries on it. Why? Because now we are approaching what humans are doing. We are mimicking the super creature Allah has created. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah said, when He created human beings, when He created Adam, He said, then the offspring of Adam has been made superior on earth. So now what we're doing, we are mimicking what Bani Adam is doing. That's what we're doing. And that's why very, very scary. So unless Allah, when He created Bani Adam, He did not throw him in Adam and his offspring. He did just throw him on earth and tell him, find your way. No. He created a namus. He created a constitution. He created a framework, a Quran. And then oral the religion constitutions to tell him how to behave, what is good, what is right, what is good for you, what is not good for you, what you should abide by, what you should avoid. So that framework was for us Muslims, it's a way of life. How we eat, how we go to the bathroom, how we sleep, how we handle ourselves. This is very important. Very sophisticated, very comprehensive framework. Unless we have something like this, as I told you, it's gonna be very messy. We should expect to see a lot of abundance in the hands of the corporations, and we should see a lot of civil wars, a lot of problems. So we need this legal and ethical framework. We should push for it. I think IOM should push for it. IOM should raise this flag. Very important. If we just contribute this from Islamic point of view or Islamic perspective, at least we limit what comes to our region, what is being adopted here. Very important. Very, very important. Because now greed plays a very large role. Money goes behind all motivates all what we see. Okay.
Another one question from me.
Okay.
A few months ago, I'm not sure whether you have seen a YouTuber ask ChatGPT which religion is the best. It's true religion, and then the ChatGPT replied, Islam is is a true religion. What's your say about that one? How is that? Is there any biasness in the information being generated by the AI?
This is an obvious literature review question that has been asked in many papers and many books, and it has been answered in many books. So this is obviously a generation of a text of opinions. So he took the common opinions from all the unbiased literature to come up with this solution. And plus, there are open AI are very smart. Every day they are updating their AI and updating the rules. So anything that is sensitive, that's going to break their business, because they have learned very well from the Gaza war, when people decided to boycott them. So boycott is a very powerful tool. It shows us we can really change the world. We can really force the world to see something else. So they are very scared of this, because at the end of the line, it's dollars and cents that count for them. They're very materialistic, just dollars and cents. So they are very sensitive, of course. Otherwise, if there is no rules there is no rules in the AI. This is only, by the way, ChatGPT. There are other solutions, other products. We don't know how they answer. So each company will have a different approach to this. We don't know. This is only a chat from chat. This is only a response from ChatGPT. So basically, obviously, clearly, it's taken from. It is not synthesized. It's not just taken from previous literature.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So we have.
Okay. So what we need.
Yeah, we have a few other questions, but probably you can finish your some of your.
Okay, I will try before the end to open another slot so we can do more discussion. So what are the future skills that you need to survive? Like the questions of the brother from the economics. He asked, what skills do we need to survive this onslaught? For us, even us, everybody will think, everybody from education, everybody from medicine, somebody from law, he will think, oh, now I'm freaking out. Am I being replaced by an AI? My job, the lawyers we produce, are the jobs at risk? How can I protect, secure my job? Should I worry? Now you should look at the traits that AI does not have or cannot have, or at least in the foreseeable future, what we see does not comprehend or does not adopt, obviously for obvious reasons, because it's a machine. First thing is the imaginative problem solving. We can solve problems in a very variety of ways. I remember there was this guy, professor in physics from Jordan, very famous astronomical physics professor. He came here, he was touting his book. So he told me he has, his classmate was our department professor. So he was narrating this story that when he was young, he proved the Pythagorean theory in 14 different ways. In 14 different ways. One of them is a philosophical. So the guy brains very sharp. He can look at it from a variety of angles, and he come up with a proof for that theory. So these skills, these imaginative skills, the way you look at things from different time. You see, I tell you, you have a problem at hand. Then you have a research problem. You have a child who's causing you a problem at home, and you don't know how to handle with him. Just observe yourself. When the point of interaction between you, how do you communicate with him, and what goes behind your brain? How do you think subconsciously? Then, after 1 hour, when things calm down, how do you think? After you eat, how do you think? Once you sleep, wake up, how do you think? Your perspective changes every time. This is a human trait AI does not have. It allows you to solve the problem. That's why we say, if you have a problem, just sleep on it. Sleep on it. Tomorrow, you will find it solved on its own. Because humans, by nature, tends to see, for example, now you're looking at it from a very sharp window. Tomorrow morning, your subconscious mind keep very preoccupied by this issue. So it keeps on rotating it, looking at it from all directions, observing all different opinions. Tomorrow morning, you find the solution. That's it. It's no more an issue for you. It's nothing. Oh, my child poured the milk on my clothes. No problem. Wash it. He cut my clothes. I take it to the tailor and fix it. But at that time, rage, anger, loss, thinking of the money, all this comes in. These issues blocks you from seeing all the different angles, the beautiful angles of it. He's learning. He's finding it. So you can find thousands and thousands of excuses. And this is in line with the Prophet tells us in Hadith, that you should find 70 excuses for your brother before. And if you cannot find in 70 excuses, do not blame him, blame yourself. So that's like an extreme way of tolerance, of showing empathy and tolerance. So that is one way of doing it. Another way is adaptability. Creativity fosters the ability to adapt. So we adapt. This is very true. Just notice yourself during COVID. When COVID came, before COVID, very few of us were familiar with the online learning, teaching and learning. After COVID, everybody has impressive skills in online teaching and learning. You become guru with the Google Meet, you become a guru with MS Teams, with Zooms, and so on and so forth. Different platforms, you know how to share material, you know how to conduct class, record, extract, process videos. You become very good. And all these skills, you were forced to learn it. Why? Because humans are adaptive by nature. We tend to adapt. I throw you in the desert, you adapt yourself, your food, your style, your movement, your activities to the environment you live in. I throw in the tropics, you change. I throw in the northern region with snow, you change. So humans by nature are adaptive. And this trait is very good for humans. So try to be adaptive, try to change to be as creative and adaptive as much as possible. And try to be dynamic. So it's basically a process of continuous learning. Push yourself to learn new skills, to engage with the new skills, learn them. And then I'm pretty sure your learning curve will change, your personality will change, and the way you look at things and you do things and conduct yourself will change dramatically, and your status will change. Competitive advantage for human. Creativity sets a human apart from AI. Why? Because it makes them, it gives them a value skills in the future for workforce. It drives the development. AI until now cannot create something new. It is learning from what we have in the literature. But we can come up with something novel, something new, never done before. And we have a lot of literature published every day on novel ideas, not just new, novel, that can come up with a new paradigm. We can come up with novel products. We can come up with many ideas. Just do brings. Okay, I tell you something. Just for a cup of tea, ask your friends or your colleagues to have a meeting, brainstorming meeting about anything, any problem you have, and look at the amount of the ideas they utter for you. Many, so many, because everybody looks at it from different perspective. The status of every human being at that time, hungry, full, upset, happy, sick, he will give you a different opinion based on the emotions he feels, based on his background. It's a mixture, heterogeneous mixture of so many factors affecting the way he thinks and the way he perceives the issue. So he will utter an information based on all this. So you will have the more people engage, the more different opinions. So these are basically a very competitive advantage for humans. Okay, so if you can that the AI requires to replicate if it needs to compete with the humans. So these are major issues when it comes to creativity. Second thing is basically emotional intelligence, which I tell you, creativity. Females are very good at creativity, very good. Males as well, but females, they have the extra notch. Just watch your wife how she chooses the color. I get headache. How to distinguish between all the greeneries in the shop when you go shopping for food, for grass, all types of grass. She can tell you what is this, how does it smell, the shape. No, for me, it's all the same. All of them are the same. I cannot tell the difference between pak choy from what should I call it, kailan. It's difficult because I don't do this every day. She's very good at this. I cannot tell her scarf color matches her dress. If I go, I will probably buy the wrong color. When she goes, she can show you tens of colors, and she will remember that that's at home and tell you this one fits, and you take it home and you find it exactly matching the color. This you cannot do. Think and coming up with new solutions. Very creative thinking. They are by nature, they are very good at this. Why? They do more tasks, more complex tasks than we do. Why? They are raising children. They are raising another human being. And that's because of that, they interact more with the other human beings. So they know how human being grows. You ask your wife about anything, about any child member in your family, she will tell you the whole history, medical history, educational history, grown-up history, food history, anything you want to know. You, zero knowledge. You probably don't know your child in which year is studying. If you're very good, probably that is the level of the information you know. We probably even missed that the birthday appointment and the birthday date, but she doesn't. That is why she's more creative than humans. But also men do have these traits, and this will distinguish us from AI. The other issue is the emotional intelligence. We are self-aware. AI is not self-aware. So understanding one's own emotions and strengths is very crucial for effective communication and decision-making. We can show empathy. We can feel bad when somebody is sick or hurt or somebody happy in the meeting or in the department or at home. So we can recognize and respond to these feelings of others. They emit, they radiate, even without speaking, just their body language. I cannot do that. This is an asset for us. Like the gentleman from the economics was saying, the relationship management, we are very good at networking, very good at emotionally. We are very intelligent. We can build strong collaborative relationships with colleagues and clients. We are very adaptive. All these traits, it falls under the emotional intelligence, which we master by default, by nature. The AI does not have. Critical thinking is also another way where we beat the AI. So setting the assumptions for your questions. So challenging the preconceived notions is very, very essential for you to come up with a novel solution. That is why we need to do problem statement, motivation, evaluating evidence. How do we analyze the information objectively, not just subjectively? And identifying biases, very crucial for decision making, very crucial. So for example, a lot of researchers in KICT now using Llama, the open source for GPT. It's an open source for GPT. So you can use it to do what ChatGPT is doing, okay? But you need to fine tune it. So this kind of source code requires a lot of fine tuning. if the design of the code, if your student is taking this code to come up with for his FYP or research, if the data used to train this llama has some bias, when you modify it and you come up with a new model, that bias in the original data is already inherited and probably affecting your own new model without you knowing. So it propagates. So that's very important, very important, very, very important. That we can do. AI cannot do, cannot detect that bias. We can do. Adaptability, critical thinking. Or critical thinkers can pivot and adjust their approach to circumstances change quickly. Problem solving, just going for a coffee, shop closed, we go to this shop, closed, we go to that guy, he's closer and cheaper, go to this guy, oh, 4 o'clock, oh, there's a 3 to 6, oh, there's a discount at this shop, so we go to, so that adaptability, I cannot do. Problem solving, breaking down complex problems into small problems, and finding the logical solutions, solving each one, and then linking it to the other problems is a very valuable skill I cannot do. It's only for humans. So these are the traits or the processes that critical thinking do that gives us this superpower: the analysis, the evaluation, and the innovation. So for you to innovate, you need to analyze first and then evaluate. Based on that, you can innovate, come up with something new. So these are the traits of critical thinking that make us a superpower. Training, just like you train AI, you need to upskill yourself. You need to reskill yourself for jobs of tomorrow. So we need to do continuous digital literacy. You need to read more. Proficiency in using digital tools. For example, let me give you an example. Now, Copilot comes with by default for us in Windows, right? Just open any PDF document. You don't have the time to read the whole paper. What you do, you go to tell him to summarize the paper. He will come up with 2-3 paragraphs, summary of the paper. Or you find something interesting, oh, okay, second paragraph is interesting for me. Please elaborate further on the second paragraph or this problem. Then he will give you more details. So this is a fantastic way of doing literature review and finding the relevance in the paper. It's available for you. You could use it every day. You should learn to use it. You should adopt these skills. Teach yourself how to use it and become very good at it. Continuous learning, embracing a mindset of lifelong learning. Always keep on reading. Always keep on learning to stay ahead. Collaborative skills. You need to work effectively with your colleagues, with teams, with machines, so you can have a very highly valued, that is highly valued in future workplace. So working with people of different backgrounds, different religions, different race, different mindset, different cultures, being accommodating is very important, very, very important for you to secure a job for the future. Creative problem solving, not just problem solving, creatively problem solving. So develop innovative approaches for the challenges set by a set individual will set individuals apart in the AI age. So these are major 4 issues for upskilling and reskilling yourself for the jobs of the AI during the AI age. Adaptability as well. 3 issues: lifelong learning, flexibility, and resilience. Grit, the non-stop, the flexibility, the adjusting your tables, adjusting yourself to the new roles, the new responsibilities. It is very difficult to come up of your comfort zone. So you have to push yourself to come up of your comfort zone. The routine. Sometimes you find yourself, you don't even prepare anymore. You just go straight to the class and teach for the last 2-3 semesters. So unless every semester you force yourself to read more, change your slides, improve, you stagnate. So that flexibility is very important. That's what separates you. Otherwise, AI can take over your job. In long life learning for future proofing, you should look at identifying gaps, seeking resources, applying what you have learned, and reiterating until you refine the skills that you have. Practical skills for skill development, mentorship, mentor-mentee. So every staff should have a senior mentor to interact with him. Quite often, I always advocate the seniority in the lab. One senior staff with other juniors, with interaction, frequent meetings, even on the way to do research, the way to write papers, the way to publish books. It will shorten your life. Don't let that self-I, the amplified I, the grandiose I take over. No. Learn. You can learn a lot of stuff from your colleagues. Don't let this treasure go wasted. They are retiring, so you should learn from them. You can improve. The mentorship is very important. Just like what we do with our students, online courses, at your free time. Just find a time on the weekend to take some course on AI and whatever, any tool that you need to learn. hands-on experience. Apply these skills. See what happens. These are practical strategies to develop your skills. These are basically the summary of how to prepare the workforce to the future, or workforce of the future using AI. So adaptability, collaboration, continuous learning, and creative learning. Embrace this human advantage. Make sure you take advantage of it. For example, let's say for now, you tell me I'm afraid that my job will be taken by AI. AI, the notion of AI versus human is wrong. It should be AI with human. That's how you should think of it. So don't worry about AI taking your job. You should worry about another human who invested in AI, learned the AI skills, taking your job. That's what you should worry about. That is very important. You should not worry about losing a job to AI. No, worry about somebody who upskilled and reskilled himself with the AI tools, taking your job because he can do better job. That is very important. So if you want to seek job opportunity or job security, you should learn to use these tools, these AI tools. You should force yourself, find the time to do this learning. Inshallah, you will notice yourself just by the end of the semester. How the change in you. Okay, so I need your thoughts and how will the future of AI be in your field. If you can do this, if you can write me back on email or in the comments, or anything I can learn from you, how will AI impact your field, your thoughts, and this is very important to be here. So I can improve my slides, I can improve my feedback, and I can provide, inshallah, better lectures next time. Thank you. These are some of the references. I will share the material with CPD, and thank you very much for attending the class. If you have any questions, Dr. Malik, please open the floor.
All right. I would like to open the floor for question and answers.
Should we stop the sharing? Should we stop the sharing?
Yeah, sure. It's up to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, any more questions from the floor? We still have few minutes before the end of the session.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
So I'm Nadira. Okay, so I just want to ask you a very basic question, actually. So what is your advice on how to teach AI to our students? Like, what are the fundamental elements that need to be included in the teaching? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. This question is very late because AI teaching should start at a very early age. We should adopt to teach AI from the primary school, especially the tools. We should instill these skills into the children. So when they reach university, they are very advanced. What we teach at university level, basically, especially for engineering and KSIT, very sophisticated, requires probability theory, advanced algebra, image processing, learning about neural networks, machine learning. So it's a progression. There is a you can take. There are some books I can advise on some books that brings the whole issue of AI. So few chapters dedicated to machine learning, few chapters dedicated to deep learning, and then families of generative AI, and so on and so forth, and the different applications and how it works, or maybe a dedicated course. You take my approach, I prefer the more sophisticated, more down the straightforward. If I teach, for example, IoT and cloud computing, I will force the students to learn about machine learning. So I'll teach them 5, 6, 7, 8 models and how they work. So they learn the background and then they use them in real applications. If I'm teaching, for example, image processing, course on image processing or intelligent systems, I'll force them to learn on machine learning, and then on deep learning and applications of deep learning in different areas. So it depends on the course itself and the level of students that we have.
All right.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah.
Any more question?
Assalamualaikum.
So,
Okay, I'm Alia from Kuliah of Engineering. Okay, actually, I have one question for you, Prof. Okay, my understanding is that humans are responsible for giving instructions and training the models. Okay, and failures in this process, such as data mismanagement, can lead to misleading outcomes.
yes.
All right. So, in your views, okay, do you think that these inaccuracies and the presence of false data mainly cause from human? especially in training the model?
Okay, in computer engineering, we teach garbage in, garbage out. This is the first concept you learn in computer engineering.
Okay.
If the data you feed your model is erroneous, you're bound to have an erroneous output. So you cannot blame the algorithm or the network, the neural network, for producing these results. They're unexpected, not becoming accurate. So you have to revise the data. You have to make sure. That is why pre-processing is a major part of developing the solution. Yeah, very, very important. The bias, you should look at the bias. Let me give you an example. Yeah, it's a common issue, something called engineering data imbalance. Data imbalance, let's say your AI is now classifying people entering masjid, or so classifying the age based on the features you see from the face. So it's classifying them in different categories. So now you go, you give him this data set, he looks at these images, and you train him, you tell them this is 1,000 images for people from 60 and above, 1,000 images for people from 60 and all the way to 20, and then 30 images for people from 20 to infant, 0. So the data is imbalanced. The amount of data you train him for the higher two classes is a lot in comparison to the data you train him for the lower age group. So what happened now? When it produces a result, it gives you a mediocre accuracy. Why? Because of this data imbalance. There are many ways to resolve this. To balance out the data, so the size of the data will be comparable. Okay, synthesization using simulation data and all this, but you make sure that also you don't have overfitting, because your overfitting coming from the synthesized, because he was trained on synthesized data, not on original data. So whatever you synthesize, you will never produce original images. For example, you can generate images from AI and tell him use these images for training. What will happen? All the traits that in the images in AI he can capture, but he will not capture human traits. So the accuracy will go down because of this overfitting. So these are technical issues that you need to look at. Data is very important. In engineering, or in computer science, or in the narrow AI applications that we have, the major issue we have, why in healthcare it's still slow, the major issue is the lack of labeled data. The more labels we have, the more information we teach the AI, the more accurate it becomes. So labeling data, preventing bias in the data, preventing errors, do proper pre-processing at the beginning, data imbalance, treating data imbalance, definitely can produce a very high accurate results and solid model, robust and reliable model.
Okay, it's clear enough, Prof. Thank you so much.
Prof, but labeling the data can also produce biasness, isn't it? Because you label it incorrectly, depending on your perception on the data, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I told you, because labeling is done by humans.
Yeah.
Crowdsourcing. Do you want me to share? I have 60 slides, 20 of them on data labeling. The issue of data, I think I will leave this to another lecture, because I have a lot of materials on this, on these 4 technical issues. These are major technical issues that we need to handle, and they are affecting the way we receive, we perceive or look at the results. Even the way we interpret our results, sometimes we have a conflicting perception of the results. Some think it's very good, some think it's not good. Why? Because of overfitting. How to look at these small changes, how to detect them. The model is showing very high accuracy, but it's a lousy model because of the bias in the data. So it is very important. Pre-processing is very important stage to train the model.
Okay, so we have one last question, which is also related to what Dr. Aznan is saying. This question is from Dr. Samiullah. Is it AI make us lazy and freeze human thinking because we have immediate solution? If like this, what about during complication time, which is not stored in AI? So maybe
What was the last sentence you mentioned?
If like this, what about during complication time, which is not stored in AI?
Okay, emergency times. I think by nature, human, I told you the issue of comfort zone. Psychologically, we always we are territorial by nature. We are just like animals, territorial by nature. We want to have our own territory. My house, my car, my office, my books, my lab, my students, we are by nature very territorial. We don't like to share. It's in us. We have to fight it to overcome it. It's a bias in the way our brains work. This territorial is not always bad. In many situations, it's good. It protects us, reduces conflict, puts boundaries on the borders, even though fuzzy, protects our interests. But at the same time, it produces bias. So now, if you, for example, if you you have a model, you train this model, and what you may call it, you don't, what may I call it, use a standardized way of collecting data. Okay, so you stick to your own data collection. The data collection yourself you created might contain some errors in the procedure. The SOP followed is erroneous. You don't know. You have not followed the standardized procedure, because if it was standardized, the data you produce is definitely correct. But because it's not standardized, it does not follow proper SOP, standardized SOP, it's bound to have some bias in it. This bias will affect the outcome of your model. Even though you perceive it right, you perceive it, what you may call it, effective, but it's not in reality. I forgot sorry, can you repeat the other part of the question?
Oh, what was the question now?
During the emergency.
I think it's related to something that is maybe when the data is not available in the EI.
Yes, there are new models that are becoming very famous now, which called semi-supervised and unsupervised, zero shot, few shot, many approaches to where you take a model, you throw it into real life and tell him to learn. So he will keep on making errors, and learning from his mistakes, errors and learning from his mistakes, errors, and every time his accuracy improves. So it takes time. The learning takes time, which is typical human being behavior. Yeah, typical trait of human beings. So we are mimicking this approach until it becomes very good. So during emergencies, emergency is one event, just an event. It happened. It will fail to predict, yes, on the first time. It will fail on the second round. It will fail on the third round, but on the fourth round, it will not fail. On the fifth round, become sharp. On the sixth round, it become killer. See, so this is a new approach of developing learning algorithms without using data. So it will learn as as you train it on new data. Every data you feed it, it will learn on it. The accuracy will still stay low. After a while, it will work on its own. This is to avoid the issue of the data labeling and ability data, because it's, especially in medical application, require a lot of handwork, a lot of people. Doctors don't have time to annotate, to teach you. They have to teach you something new, and they have to annotate. So they have to do the work for you, or ask their students to do it. And the students usually do mediocre job. So this is issues I had with SEGI and UM when we engaged a lot of students. So we have to redo what they have done 3 times. 3 times. So the model, the data we use becomes acceptable, it produces acceptable results. Unless we fix that, it's very difficult. The placement of these dots, D1, D2, D3, and 1, 4, calculating the ball loss. Putting these dots on it's a fraction of 0.0 milliseconds. So it's in the close to the 10 microsecond, micrometer. So this is what differentiates the grades. When we have the results, there is no grade A, only grade B, C, D. What is grade A? No data. No, there is data. The labeling is wrong. So it took us to revise what we have done for 6 months and revise it full time. Only then we can produce. So it's basically anything involves crowdsourcing human there. It's bound to have some bias, but you need to reduce it as much as possible. Unless we teach AI in the future to do labeling on its own and to create all this on its own, then yes. So this brings us to the question of the laziness. Yeah, I think AI do teach people to become lazy, but it is you who make the decision. How do you want to conduct yourself? If you want to follow up, you want to update yourself, train yourself to become future-proof, okay. Otherwise, I assure you, you will lose your job big time.
Okay, so since we are running out of time, perhaps we can have one last question, which is from Dr. Muhammad Muzaffar. How should we handle the assignment when generated by AI?
Okay, very simple. For me, it's very simple. If I suspect the data is generated by AI, what I will do verbal test. I will tell the students, this is your mark. You scored 30 out of 30. I am very proud of you. But I want to ask you questions now from your assignment. What do you mean by this sentence in this paragraph? Can you elaborate for me? How does this relate to the paragraph before? So unless the students, it's okay for the student to generate an assignment. It's not okay for him to read what he has generated because he will never learn. Learning is like generating assignments from a book. It's like he has read the book. That is very good. That is very good. But if he doesn't read, that is the problem. So you should, very simple. Invite him face to face, 3 minutes with you. Okay, answer this question. If you cannot answer, then you use copy. You tell him this is copied. I already scored it and it's already copied from AI. And you prove to me that you cannot answer the questions. You don't understand what is written. You don't know what is written. And therefore your mark would be 0, 50%. You are penalized. You have to redo it again. Or what you can do, you give the assignments and ask students to do it through ChatGPT. Everybody will do ChatGPT. And then group them. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. This group, swap the assignments. Everybody read the other 4 assignments and tell me his assignment and the 4 assignments, what is missing? What is the things that your colleagues did not cover? So do critical thinking as assignment on it. Assignment on the assignment. Then you force him to learn what is written in all the 4 reports, and you force him to come up with even more ideas, better ideas. Instead of fighting AI, no. Do it the other way around. Let him use AI, but force him to learn what he's copying. Examine him, see his skills, ask him to find things that the AI, or tell him this is what the AI has done. This is what I have generated this assignment from ChatGPT. Everybody has a copy. Now, there are things that like the defense business I told you, and that's not covered. You cannot find any discussion on it. Okay, do a research on what's going on, the research investments in AI, in the defense sector. He will struggle. Then he will do proper research. He will have to read papers and books and all this to find a solution for you. There are many ways to go around it, many ways. But I never discourage any student from using ChatGPT. The final solution, if you have no time, well, ask him to do 16 pages, 30 pages, handwritten assignments on this topic. So let him read what he's writing, what he's copying from ChatGPT. So when he reads, he prepares, and then he reads, and then he copies. That's a reinforcing the learning. You got what you want. This is what you want, right? In the end, you want him to retain this information, right? This is what you want in the end. This is a way to do it. There are many tricks.
Good. There's a great ideas and tips from you, Prof. All right, so I guess that's the end of our session. But before that, we would like to have a quick photo session. Can everyone switch on your camera so we have a quick photo session? Right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Next page. 2, 3. Next page. And last one. Okay, Alhamdulillah, that's the end of our event for today. We would like to thank our speaker, Prof. Hadi Habaebi, for delivering a very interesting topic. So we would like to also thank all the participants for attending this talk. And make sure you don't forget to fill up the evaluation form that has been posted in the chat box and also will be emailed to you later. Okay, and let's end today's event with Tasbih Kafara and Suratul Asr. All right, thank you very much, Prof. and everyone.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Oh, I nak add.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Jazakallah khairan, Prof.
Shukran, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nadira.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much.